I would have to say it was exhilarating. 5, 6 years I spent operating for that. It was the greatest years of my life. The thing about it is, you see, in Tyrone, we had a lot of autonomy due to the fact that Monaghan had a certain reputation as an IRA man and as an activist and as a long-standing Republican. So he was given a lot of autonomy. So we set out to set up the East Tyrone in our own way and in our own style, and we financed ourselves because at the start it was a very controlled business, but when we got going, Monaghan then got caught, so I was left in charge of Tyrone. And we were at a loose end one day, and we decided that there was one particular bank in a small town in Tyrone, and we knew the caretaker. The caretaker was actually a Republican. So we had nothing to do. We said, listen, we have no money, let's go and rob this bank. So the unit set out that morning, and we picked up the caretaker. I won't give his name. I wouldn't like to do that. But we picked him up on the way to his work, and he objected strongly to being coerced into this, but he really didn't have any choice. He was a Republican. He couldn't let us down, so he helped us, and the bank robbery was a total success. And we did that bank robbery as we did all bank robberies. We went in, took the entire bank over, went into the vault, took everything of value out of the vault, and left. And that was our first job. So it was so successful. I mean, I know what we got, 20 odd thousand was taken out of it. And it was so successful that I was encouraged to go ahead, and if there's any more robberies, to go ahead and do them. But I didn't have to die. And in Tyrone, I would have had, as OC at that particular time, I would have had autonomy. I could have decided to do an ambush. I dictated what went on. And unless it stepped outside of the parameters of what everyone else was doing, I didn't have to ask permission. And it worked. And when you've done something, then you reported back to headquarters, or brigade headquarters, which was in Monaghan town and Fergal Hanlon's house. And the brigade OC was a man called J.B. O'Hagan, who is also now deceased, a very, very nice man, a gentleman. And he was our OC. So this is the man I was reporting to. So he trusted me, and he didn't put any restrictions on me, and that's how it worked.
Do you remember just how you felt emotionally, psychologically doing your first bank robbery? It must have been. I'd say there was nothing in your life that you'd done similar before, you know.
No, it was. I would have to say it was exhilarating. I have to, people. I tell anyone who's bothers to ask me that that period of my life, that 5, 6 years I spent operating for that, was the greatest years of my life. I was completely alive, completely in control. I had no one to answer to other than the rules. As long as I stayed within the rules, I could do what I wanted. I felt empowered. These people who were beating me off the streets, who had button charged me in Cullen, who had stolen my house, so to speak, I blamed them for it. I was now in a position to ask questions, and it empowered me. The gun empowered me, and it empowered a whole generation of people to get up off their knees and to fight. And that's all I did. I didn't. I don't consider myself someone special. I'm just an ordinary guy. I was a plasterer one day, and the next day I was a guerrilla fighter. And anything I did, I never read books on guerrilla warfare. There's a famous book called The War of the Flea. There was a lot of talk about it, but I never seen it. I never read it. So the tactics that I evolved came naturally to me. I was able to. I was an organizer. I didn't realize I was an organizer, but I was an organizer. And any job I ever went on, no matter who was there, Kevin Mann, no matter who was there, if I didn't plan it, it didn't happen. I wouldn't do it. And if I did do it, I was the first one through every door, metaphorical door or real door. I was the first one through the door. So I don't never sent anyone out to do something I wouldn't do. I would be there and I'd do it, and I'd take the worst job going. I would take it because that was my job, that was my responsibility.
I see.
Unless for a tactical reason, someone else would have to do that. But on that, that was my job. If I was recommending that something be done, I had in my mind I had a responsibility to take the worst job out of the job, out of all the jobs there. It was my responsibility to do the worst job, the dirtiest job.
I, I get what you mean. I always go, okay, we'll get to this later, but meticulous planning becomes a very common theme throughout your life and your book. With regards to the bank robberies, you might explain to people who might know how it works when you rob a bank for the IRA. You don't. It's not like robbing a bank for yourself.
No, the IRA, the first bank we robbed, JB couldn't believe it. Like, I came down around, I think, 20 grand and gave it to him. So it is an understood thing. And I mean, if a unit of the IRA goes out and does a job, the money is for the IRA. It's not for anyone else.
100% of it.
100%. You don't get paid. You get a few bob to keep you alive. That's about it. But nothing else. You don't take a divvy out of it. Like I say, there's a few hundred for you and a few for you. It doesn't work like that. You know, it doesn't. Whatever's there, that's put in a bag and it's handed over. Nobody gives you, say, well, here, there's a few bob for yourself. That doesn't happen.
Did you ever hear of fellas, maybe not even in your own unit, but in the future throughout the troubles of maybe doing a robbery, but then taking a small little bit for themselves?
Yeah, of course it happened. Like, people, I mean, there was people in IRA at that stage who were starving. Like, they didn't have any money. Nobody had anything. And your family was living at home. You couldn't draw the dole. I mean, your family was, who was going to support them? So naturally enough, if somebody done robberies, there'd be small robberies done. Somebody, they'd try and work something out for themselves. But it wouldn't be a general thing. And it would be, even though you could justify taking it in your own mind and probably in most people's minds, it would be frowned upon. So therefore you just didn't do it unless you were really, really badly stuck. Because you were taking a serious chance, you could get shot for it. It was only a few quid. It wasn't considered the thing to do. So no, I wouldn't. If you said to me, could you name somebody if you're free to do so, I took it. No, I couldn't. But these rumours go about, if you know what I mean.
Interesting. Okay, so you've done okay, yeah. In your own head, could you put like a rough figure on how many bank jobs you have done, or robberies of some kind, be it a post office or a bank or something?
No, I could name maybe three or four main ones, but one day in particular, a unit started in Gortin and they done three robberies.
Three in one day.
Three in one day, and on the way out, they ran into a police car, and the police car chased them, and they fired shots at each other, and going down one particular, they couldn't get rid of these cops, but the guy in the front was being hampered from returning fire by the old head seat used to clip onto the back of a chair, back of your chair in the car. I know it was a prong go down each side of the seat and would sit there. It was one of them, so he took it off and threw it out, and it hit the ditch and bounced back onto the road. And the cops saw it; they thought it was a bomb and gave up the chase. Stopped; they wouldn't pass it. That's why they got away.
Funny. Did you okay, so across these various robberies you did, as you got more experience and got better at them, what changed in you? Like, were you way more comfortable on jobs? Did you do anything different as you went on and became a more experienced armed robber? Like,
Yeah, you become more careful. Yeah, well, each job is a life on its own. It's a piece of it's like a painting. Like a job is like a painting. You've got to look at it and examine it and find its weaknesses. You've got to, it's unique. So after a while, you know what to look for. You know how to approach these things, and you know what questions to ask. And depending on the location of it, you may not need a great deal of information. The only information you need to have would be how long from the alarm goes off till the police arrive. That's all you need to know, because you're in control of it. There's no one going to interfere with you because they just don't interfere. When you walk in, they just surrender. That's their job. That's what they're told to do. If you're going to be robbed, give them the money. It's not your money. So
Uh,
you don't meet a lot of resistance within the bank. The only resistance you're going to meet is on the street if the police happen to spot something suspicious or somebody makes a phone call or whatever. So the whole thing is to get into the bank without arousing any suspicion outside the bank and take control of it. The next mission you have is to get to the people before they get to push the button, the alarm button. So if no one knows there's anything on the outside, no one knows there's anything going on, you're on the inside and you have secured everybody in the building and you know the alarm hasn't gone off, then the bank's yours for 10 minutes. So you do what you want.
your mentality at the time, would you have been prepared to kill a guard who got in your way, or even a member of bank staff?
No. I always made it clear to the IRA that I wouldn't shoot anyone for money. Maybe if they were going to shoot me, yes, in defence, but to actually shoot somebody because they wouldn't give me money or something like that, no, I wouldn't be prepared to do that.
I see. Can you talk to me maybe a bit about you're probably not at liberty to actually name them, but like maybe some of the ambushes you did in them early days. How would you go about kind of carrying out one? And was there like a standard MO that you would use?
Well, speaking generally, there would be modus operandi. The first thing is, everything you do, whether it's robbing a bank, whether it's an ambush, whether it's matter what you do, everything is governed by the amount of information that you can glean before you go actually walk out through the front door. So the first thing that I would have done would have been I'd have gathered all the intelligence. Um, if it's say a patrol, then you've got to get the location where the ambush was most suitable to carry out an ambush. But suitability has a lot. I mean, yeah, the first thing you've got to establish is a means of escape. If you can't escape, there's no point in doing the job. So the first thing is you have to have the high ground, you have to have surprise, and a means of getting out of there. The high ground being very important.
Right. I've heard militarily you never want to concede the higher ground to your
If you're on the high ground, people have to climb a hill to get to you, and you have an advantage. Plus, you get to the other side of the hill, you're gone. And if it's at night, the Brits, excuse me, the Brits are very loath to leave the security of their armoured vehicles to chase you up a field in the dark. But the first experience of that it's a very moving experience. I mean, if you ambush British soldiers and they're in armoured vehicles, you can expect, well, I wasn't expecting it, but the first time you experience it is a very moving experience when somebody fires. First of all, they put up parachute flares and turns night into day. Then when they're shooting at you, it isn't too bad. But when they shoot at you and they use tracer, that's a different story because then you know for every round you see, there's another 3 or 4 in between each lit up round, and they use the round to aim at you. So you can see the fire coming towards you. That's a very moving experience. And when I say moving, I mean moving. So it is.
Did these like the majority of the ambushes you carried out, were they in a rural setting, or would some of them been kind of rural town, or?
No, I'm a country pan. Everything I do, I'm only comfortable and at ease in the country. I hate the city. I don't like cities. I don't know the procedure for cities, if you know, for want of a better expression. I'm not at home in the city. I can't fade into the background in the city where I can do it in the country because I know country people. I know how they behave. I know what they're looking for. I mean, people will be surprised that if you go into a country house and there's somebody driving down the road, that person at that time will be able to tell you who that man was in that car because they know the sound of the car. Those things don't happen in the city. So you have that local knowledge. You have that. I was brought up walking through fields, and I knew field work, and I knew The country is different. It's a totally different setup from the city. The
Um,
city, short, sharp exchange, and you must know your stuff to get away from it. Whereas you can play about with things in the country because you have a little bit more maneuverability. And normally you would work at night, so you have the cover of darkness.
Even if you can't kind of go into details because you mightn't be free to, but like does something stand out in your mind as being like your most successful ambush, even in terms of amount killed or wounded or anything like that?
I couldn't go into things like that. I'm my age at the minute, 77 years of age, and there's not another day left for me in jail. So I don't want to go to jail again. So I don't wish to. I've done enough time. I don't wish to talk about things like that. That's going to put me in jail.
Of course. But like in your own mind, would there be a couple in particular that you would put as your most successful? Not that you discussed, but just in your own head.
My own head, there would be certain things I'd be proud of having done. Yeah, but it wouldn't be killing people. I killing people is something that happens, and it's not something I would be proud of. It's not something that I'd look back on and say that was a great thing I done. Because to take someone's life is it's a very serious decision to take. I would certainly never execute anyone. That was a no-no. I never would do that. But it's, even if you go out and you get caught up in a firefight and something happens and somebody gets killed, that's one thing. But to walk up to someone and talk to them and then execute them, that's another thing. That's something I wouldn't do.
I see. Would there be like an average uh I know an ambush team number? Is there like a good number that's like not too few and not too many?
You're around 3 to 4 people. I mean, you have to. It depends on what you're doing. If it's just a firefight, you'd have 2 to 3 people, depending and you'd have people sitting in the background driving cars to take you away. And that's about it. I mean, if it's a landmine, then that's a different story. If it's probably just 2 people, somebody on the wire and somebody watching, and also driving. So it'd be a two-man job. That, but
In
a firefight could be ending up to